Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Black Logic. I have quite a few of news updates for you guys because in today's video, it's all out about geopolitical and cultural roller coasters because Trump drops a tariff bombshell on China and finalizes a major U.S.-U.K. trade deal, but it's not all about celebration because there's some things I want to add into how tariffs in some regards can actually lead to troops on the ground. But nonetheless, other news stories we'll give you updates about is also about the firing of Carla Hayden, who was the first Black Librarian of Congress, which in some regards is are sparking outrage. Meanwhile, Russia flaunts its military power during Victory Day as EU leaders rally behind Ukraine. But it doesn't stop there because the Trump administration enacts a very historic, controversial purge of transgender service members. And the first time in U.S. history, Afrikaners fleeing racial persecution in South Africa are granted asylum on American soil. So again, these are the countrymen and women of Elon Musk. Afrikaners, also known as Boers, they are the descendants. They are the descendants of those who kept South Africa in apartheid. So again, we're not going to judge the mother and we're not going to judge these people by their mother and father, but I'm pretty sure there's some racial tension there. And I know a lot of people don't like to get to the whole the racial war or the back and forth, but essentially this is racial because all of the Afrikaners are white. Okay. And these are descendants of people who are from, they derive from Denmark, they're Danish, Norwegian. They have all these different northern sort of historical ancestry, right? Your Finland, your Norway, your Greenland, your Iceland. All of those people are descendants and what are considered Afrikaners or even Boers. Now, I may be missing a couple of groups here and there, but for the most part, that's essentially what they are, and they have been granted asylum in America. These again are the countrymen and women of Elon Musk. And they do have a dark past of putting the South African people, the South African melanated people in apartheid, as a lot of Black Americans would like to equate in some regards, not totally, of slavery. Okay, but it was done quite differently because they wasn't taken from their country and sent to Denmark or any other place like that. They was kept there right there in South Africa, but they were controlled on many, many fronts. So again, we're going to talk about a lot of these stories, okay? Because President Trump has signaled a potential reduction in tariffs on Chinese imports, suggesting they could be lowered to 80% from the current 145%. And some of these decisions that he's making, he's come to gripes with making a deal with the UK. So that eased a lot of tensions. I know you guys seen the investment market doing a lot better because of this. But this moves amid ongoing trade negotiations aimed to ease tension between, these two very economic giants. And Trump hinted at multiple trade deals in progress, emphasizing the importance of fair trade practices. So again, we may see some ease of how things may be and how things may get better for a lot of the American businessmen and businessmen around the world. And as I was stating before, how a lot of these trade wars could lead to potential troops on the ground. Yeah, this could lead to potential troops on the ground. And I know I'm not trying to have some sort of loom effect on the news this morning, but as we put these things into stages, you have stage one size slaps on duty when we're talking about how we're going to keep 10% U.S. tariffs on most of the U.K. goods to protect domestic producer. Then stage two, the other side retaliates. Britain might tax U.S. cars or whiskey, ratcheting up the pressure. And then you have economic pain and political blame because of the domestic fallout. And from that, you'll have manufacturers lose contracts, farmers can't export, jobs go away. And the populace outrage, citizens demand action. It's all their fault. You're going to see all the blame game Leaders exploit nationalism, painting the others as the economic enemy. And then it starts to trim very demonstrably where escalations to non-economic measures occur. Sanctions and asset freeze. Government frees bank accounts and seize ships, just as well as they did with Russia. Okay, you see how these tensions have been going on for so long, and these doesn't happen instantly. They doesn't happen rapidly. They happen over the course of the years. You have a naval shadow boxing where a Coast Guard shadow each other in disputed waters, warning shots ring out. And this has had me to think about why Donald Trump had interest in Greenland and how that is a strategic country, a sovereign country that has no defense mechanism for themselves, okay, even though Denmark should be providing security for them, but for America, that is one entryway into America. So I can understand, and again, even though we're not at war with Russia, okay, we don't really, I don't think America considered ourselves allies with Russia, but nonetheless, this is a very strategic when it comes to warfare and how we can prevent entry into America by the way of U-boats, submarines, etc. by, you know, again, one of the top world powers, Russia. Russia is in there. Russia, if not two, they're three when it comes to GDP economics. But when it comes to warfare, man, it's a toss-up. It's a toss-up altogether. And then you have a flashpoint where there's certain incidents and crisis, and through that, a miscalculated intercept of a stranded fleet that leads to real casualty. And of course, the public calls to protect our people. Things swell up. And then again, deployment and confrontation of troops on the ground and all full-out war. And do I hope that that occurs? Absolutely not. I don't want anything of the sort. But I think no one is really looking out how the potential of these trade turf wars can actually lead to troops on the ground. And as I stated before, stocks are getting a lot better because the trade wars are easing as we have negotiated a trade deal with the UK, as well as we're in trade talks with China. Again, one of our biggest business partner, if not the biggest. And I know if you guys are aware that Russia held its annual Victory Day parade in Moscow, commemorating the 80th anniversary of the end of World War II. The event showcased military might, including the presence of North Korean troops. I want you guys to understand this. We are not allies with Russia. We are not allies with China. We are not allies with North Korea. Now, China and Russia are not only the two largest GDP behind America, but they also have two of the largest armies behind America, if not bigger than America. North Korea, China, and Russia are all allies. They've done big business together when it comes to energy, agriculture, produce, and all other sorts of things. So again, as how we're shaping the world when it comes to GDP, economics, tariffs, etc., we have to see how these other large companies, these other large countries are joining together. That could lead I had to take a pause there only because I don't want things to lead to a World War III. Why was this necessary for President Putin to show his military might to the world and then show the partnership between him and North Korea? And also with this showcase of force, it was attended by the Sri Lankan Prime Minister Robert Fico, the only EU leader present. Meanwhile, the EU foreign ministers met live in Ukraine, pledging further support for Ukraine and approving a tribunal to persecute Russian leaders for aggression. What are they going to do? Like outside of the political atmosphere, what are you going to do to Russia to stop the invasion of Ukraine? And again, America, we should take a step back. President Donald Trump, the Trump administration. Again, if you guys just want to have talks, but again, the support of Ukraine could easily lead to conflict with American troops, with American military. Because again, we are supporting the same country that Russia is at war with. So as we look at this, what does all of this mean when we see the showcase of Russian troops alongside North Korean troops? And don't forget, Russia is also allies with India. China and India, they have over 1 million troops. And again, I'm not stating that this is going to allude to war in any regards or military conflicts of any regards. But again, there's a purpose behind what these world leaders do and what these world leaders show. He didn't have to show any of this. He could have showed Russian troops, but there's definitely a reason why he showed Russian troops and North Korean troops. So again, hopefully this is just a showcase of force and it doesn't lead to anything. Now, I know you guys are familiar with this story right here because Carla Hayden was the first Black Librarian of Congress, and she has been let go. And there has been a lot of outcry behind this. And I'm just going to read this very quickly here, make sure you guys can see this. But it states that President Donald Trump abruptly fired Librarian of Congress Carla Hayden on Thursday as the White House continues to purge the federal government of those perceived to oppose the president and his agenda. Hayden was notified in an email late Thursday from the White House Presidential Personnel Office, according to an email obtained by the Associated Press. Confirmed by the Senate to the job in 2016, Hayden was the first woman and the first African-American, Black American, to be Librarian of Congress. Carla, the email began, on behalf of the President Donald Trump, I am writing to inform you, that your position as a Librarian of Congress is terminated effective immediately. Thank you for your service. A spokesperson for the Library of Congress confirmed that the White House told Hayden she was dismissed. Hayden, whose 10-year term was set to expire next year, had come under backlash from conservative advocacy group that had vowed to root out those standing in the way of Trump's agenda. The group, American Accountability Foundation, accused her and the other librarian leaders of promoting children's book with radical content and literary material authored by Trump's opponents. Now, I don't know how true this may be, but again, I'm looking at this from a corporate perspective. In corporate America, if you don't align with the disciplines, the policies, the SOP, and the corporate agenda, and they found out you're in this high position that you disagree with a lot what the corporation is doing, will the corporation fire you? Will the corporation let you go if you oppose many of the things they're trying to do or a lot of the things they stand against? I would like to believe they will let you go. Again, I know a lot of Democrats and liberals would like to believe this is a racial thing. And I'm kind of in between lines here because I understand there's a system of white supremacy. And again, the demographic of people who have it worse in America are Black women. Secondly, are Black men, but definitely Black women. See, Black women, they don't innocently kill Black women like they do Black men, but they're persecuted in many different ways. They held to a very high standard. They're put in these very high positions only to see them fall and fail. And again, she may be in disagreement with a lot of things that the president has done, but nonetheless, looking from a very political and corporate standpoint, I can understand why she was let go. But that's given no excuse of any racial underlining that may exist. So again, I'm indifferent about this particular story right here because I simply don't know if the claims that they're making in this particular news report is true to face. So again, I digress when it comes to that as well. Okay. Now, the U.S. U.K. deal shows the trade war is here to stay. And this is kind of behind how they announced a new trade agreement that has been reducing tariffs on British steel, aluminum, and cars, while the UK will lower tariffs on US beef and ethanol. Despite these concessions, a 10% tariff remained on most UK goods, indicating that the broader trade war is far from over because we still have a 10% tariff on majority of the things that are imported from the UK to America. Now, the deal is seen as a very symbolic step towards stronger bilateral relations, but leaves many issues unresolved. So again, the trade war is still going on, point blank and simple. Now, of course, this particular story that I know that a lot of people, mostly on the left, but some people on the right, okay, a lot of, Republicans, very few have come out publicly, okay, because the Pentagon has initiated the process of discharging up to 1,000 openly transgender service members following a Supreme Court decision permitting the Trump administration to enforce a ban on transgender military personnel. Now, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth emphasized ending what he called wokeness and weakness in the military. Troops diagnosed with gender dysphoria will be involuntarily removed, and those with this diagnosis will not be allowed to enlist. Service members have until June 6th on active duty or July 7th, those who are in the National Guard and Reserve, to self-identify voluntarily. As of December 2024, 240 military personnel were documented with gender dysphoria through the actual number, but the actual number may be a lot higher. So the Pentagon estimates that the treatment costs from 2015 to 2024 for transgender personnel amounted to around $52 million. This is what I was contributing to yesterday and the day before yesterday about the high cost of having transgender military personnel in the military and how the government has to fit the bill because it falls under health insurance. And everybody knows, all of our military service members, health insurance is 100% free. Now, most people are going in because they have a cough, they have the flu, they have a bad cold, they hurt themselves while running, they hurt themselves while going through an obstacle course or training. They may have to get ligament surgery like myself. Because again, I'm a retired veteran who went through a lot of surgeries. I had surgery on my knees, surgery on my shoulders, back, you name it. I've been through a lot of things, but these are things about wear and tear of serving your country, which I don't take any of it back. But because you identify as a certain sex, and the military, because a lot of the so-called liberal policies have allowed the government to pay for said surgeries, has caused the military an additional $52 million. Now, the new policy allows for limited exemptions if individuals demonstrate support for warfighting activities and meet strict criteria, including not having transition and showing gender stability for at least 3 years. Even with a waiver, only their biological sex will be officially recognized. I want you guys to hear me again. With a waiver, only their biological sex will be officially recognized. So the implementation had been delayed by legal challenges, but the recent court ruling allows it to proceed while other lawsuits continue. So again, a lot of the service member, whether it be 1,000 or a number that's larger than that, either will have to go back to their identify as their original sex. So if you was a man transgender to a woman, you have to state that you are a man with a waiver and then show that you are a man for 3 years. Yeah, it's the Trump administration is again, it's like a rodeo. It's wild. It's wild. Okay, it's wild. There's no hold bars when it comes to the Trump administration, but these are the things that the American people voted for, and there you have it. This is where we are. Now, the U.S. government has officially granted refugee status to 54 Afrikaners, white descendants of mainly Dutch colonizers from South Africa. Again, white descendants of mainly Dutch colonizers from South Africa. They are expected to arrive in the U.S. on Monday, May 12th. Okay, which I think they should all, they're going to be here in a couple of days or so. And this move follows a February 7th executive order from President Trump declaring Afrikaners as victims of racial discrimination in South Africa. Wow. States that have agreed to take in South Africans, the white South Africans. These are the states that have agreed to take them in. Colorado, Massachusetts. Massachusetts is no surprise to me. Michigan, Minnesota, Washington, West Virginia, California, Idaho, Montana, North Carolina, Nevada, and New York. Several of the refugees have family ties in the U.S. A press conference is planned for their arrival at Dulles Airport to be attended by a high-level official with the Department of State and Homeland Security. Now, can we talk about the flip side of this? The flip side of this story? Because again, I can get into the racial tensions between the white South Afrikaners and their descendants of colonizers and descendants of the apartheid that they put a lot of South Africans in place in their own country and what we like to coin as a form of slavery. But let's sidestep all of that. President Trump has granted them asylum, and they are considered to be refugees. And we know from this country that we all know and love, America, when you come to America as a refugee, when you come to America as an asylum seeker, they're going to roll out the red carpet. And even more so, these are white people. They're going to roll out the red, the blue, and the white carpet. They're going to be receiving government subsidies, government grants. They're going to receive housing. They're going to receive luxury apartments. The same thing that the illegal immigrants receive, they're going to receive probably 2 or 3 times more because they are not only have been invited, they've been heavily accepted. And they have the skin protection. They have the skin coverage. Again, a lot of people not like to believe that this is racial, but again, President Trump pointed out that they were facing persecution because of racial discrimination. Here's the flip side. Black Americans, even though we've been here 5, 6 generations, even prior to 1526, we've been here longer than the majority of the white people in this country that would tell black folk, go back to your country. This is our country. We've been here longer than most of you guys. But here's the question. Why haven't, out of the 50 some odd countries in Africa, afforded the same refugee asylum status to Black Americans? Majority of African countries, when you go over there as a Black American, you have to be well off. You have to be wealthy. You have to be part of the upper middle class in America because they want to ensure that you add to their economy, not take away. Now, these people, I don't know their financial status, and that doesn't even matter. They're going to be supported by the U.S. government by the way of the American tax dollars. And the reason why I didn't want to get into the racial talks between the history that they may have, I don't know if these people are racist, prejudiced, or they just been done bad by the South African government. I really don't know. I can, of course, go into a diatribe of what I do know. Again, but I will have to investigate and find information about all of these different families, but I don't. I'm just looking at how they would like to believe that Africa is a place where Black Americans can go freely and that we'll have support. Absolutely not. Why do you believe that a lot of Africans come to America? Why do you believe that a lot of Africans go to the U.K.? See, they have countries where they can go back to in Africa. What country would Black Americans go to in Africa again? What country? Even if you do Ancestry.com, 23andMe, they will tell you that, okay, based upon your DNA, you're from Mali, you're from Nigeria, you're from Ghana, you're from Togo, you're from Benin, you're from all these different countries. if you're not well off, well known, wealthy, like a Ludacris or a Dr. Umar Johnson, you're going to pay a hefty price to receive citizenship, let alone live in those countries. Because again, the people there, and I've been in Africa many a times, the people there do not see you as a brother, do not see you as a sister. They see you as a wallet. They see you as a bank account that they're trying to make withdrawals from. And I'm not stating that the people from these African countries are evil, bad, because again, I had a lovely time in Ghana. The people in Ghana were very nice, very polite. We had a person, he was kind of like our tour guide, but he drove us around. He took us to different places to eat, different tours. His name is Eric. If anybody ever wants to go to Ghana, I would definitely give you Eric's number because he protected us from being scammed, from being frauded against. But again, I mean, you know, we took care of him. We took care of him. And then when we bought food, we always bought more food than that we could eat. That way he could take that food back to his family. And he was very gracious from that. And again, Eric was a really great guy. And all the Ghanaians that we ran into, very, very good people. I didn't meet anyone that that we disliked. Even when I went to South Africa, really good people that we met there. Even some of the white Afrikaners that we met were really good people. Okay. Also, when we went to Kenya, Kenya has really good people. But again, just to let the cat out of the bag, these people in those countries do not, in my opinion, from my perspective, even though we had great conversations, great interactions, they still don't see you as one of them. Okay, just because you share the same skin tone, do not believe that they still will treat you as one of their countrymen. And then I can do another flip side of things when it comes to European countries. When you have the Irish and the Scottish and the British and the French, okay, the Belgians and the Germans, at one point in time in history, even though they're all white, they still look at, and still to this day, because of the different cultures, the different languages, they don't see themselves as brothers and sisters, but they all see themselves as brothers and sisters when they come to America. But from my knowledge and from my experience, not the Africans when they come to Black Americans. Because the only representation of Black Americans that a lot of Africans see, a lot of dark melanated hue Africans see of Black Americans is on TV. And the only depictions that they have of Black Americans on TV is that we are gangsters and gays. And that is far from the truth. We're talking about 1 to 2% of Black Americans that are gangsters and gays. But again, they will definitely receive great treatment from the U.S. government. Last but not least, this came on my news feed very, very late. I don't know if you guys are aware that the police officers, okay, the police officers in the Tyrese Nichols case have all been exonerated. They were all found not guilty. You guys remember this story here? All of these guys were found not guilty. They tracked down and pulled this man out of his car, brutalized him, and he died. So let me read this story to you guys. It states here that Memphis police initially said that Nichols, a father, skateboarder, and a photographer, was pulled over a January 7, 2023 on suspicion of reckless driving. Police Chief Serlin C. Davis later told CNN authorities were unable to substantiate the reason for the stop. The police even stated amongst their police officers, they don't even know why he was stopped. They don't even know why Nichols was stopped. They have no idea why Nichols was stopped. It goes on to state officers repeatedly threatened Nichols with violence, even as he appeared to comply with their commands or was already on the ground. Disciplinary hearing records showed that Nichols was never told why he was being pulled over or that he was under arrest. Nicholas fled on foot after being yanked out of his car, pepper sprayed, and struck with a taser. 5 officers, those who were later charged, caught him and punched, shoved, and kicked him in the face and head as he cried out for his mother. Footage also shows officers standing around Nichols after the beating, some talking and laughing and not appearing to render aid. Nichols was taken to a hospital in critical conditions and died 3 days later. Medical examiners determined he died from blunt force trauma to the head. He had tearing and rupturing in his brain and has suffered cuts and bruising all over his body. All of these 5 officers need to be in jail with no parole, life without parole. They brutalized and killed this man. And even when you have the police themselves come out and state, and I just want you guys to see this again. They come out and stated that, they said the police chief later told CNN authorities, we are unable to substantiate the reason for the stop. Number 1. Number 2, Nichols was never told why he was being pulled over or that he was under arrest. So it really doesn't matter if the police officer is white, black, Hispanic, Latino, Asian, or otherwise. Black men unarmed are brutalized and killed by the police. And once again, the police officers have gotten off scot-free. These guys have been exonerated. These guys have been found not guilty. Former Memphis officers found not guilty on all charges in the Tyree Nichols death. This is a very sad story. Good morning to you, Volvo. Thank you guys all for joining me here this morning on Black Logic. I do have a treat for you guys. I do have a sneak peek of my latest vacation video, guys. I'm just going to give you a sneak peek, okay? A couple of seconds. I may be releasing this video later on today, but I think it would be enjoyable for you guys to watch. But I'm going to give you a sneak peek very, very quickly here, if you guys bear with me. Let me show you this vacation video here is a couple of military guys getting together. We went to Vietnam, we went to Thailand, and then we went back to Vietnam. If you want to see the whole vacation video, I'll be posting that later on this evening, so watch out for that. If you're new to Black Logic, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you are notified every time I go live or release a video. But nonetheless, I'm going to show you a quick sneak peek of this particular video right here. And don't worry, I'm stopping it right now before I kill myself. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Oh!
1, 2, 3.
So we're just boarding. It's 1 a.m. on April 16th. And me and my buddies, we're heading to Saigon or Ho Chi Minh, something like that, but Vietnam nonetheless. And right now we're flying EVA Airlines. Here's the seat. Let me back out a little bit. And that's pretty much it. We are exhausted because we had to wait. I guess I'll see you guys when we get there. Just landed in Taiwan, Taipei, Taiwan. In an hour or so, about to check out our second leg to Vietnam. Just waiting for my buddy to get off the plane here. My green giant. That big guy behind me, right there. Yo. The giant. Finally touched down in Vietnam, and the immigration line is crazy. I mean, just look at the many of people that's around, except that giant, that black giant back there. So
a few moments later.
So just made it through immigration and customs, and let me just show you guys. They're over there. I'm across the street. Like, these look really authentic. These don't look like replicas at all. These are probably ones that were left during the war. So again, a lot of people may not agree with this, but we lost the Vietnam War in support of the South because the All right, so that's a sneak peek of the video that I'll be releasing later. It's roughly 25 minutes or so. So again, this would be if you had any desires of going to Vietnam and or Thailand, we went to Ho Chi Minh City, also known as Saigon, as well as Bangkok and Pattaya City of Thailand. So again, I'll be releasing that video later for you guys, but nonetheless, you guys have a great and wonderful morning, and I'll see you guys on the next one. This is Bye.